The start point for this project came from a couple of different places. I think for all of my other films, there is a really concrete point at which I remember being aware of knowing this was the project I was going to do. And it doesn't quite exist for this film because I think in many ways it was a continuation of a short film that I made, my first short film, that explored similar themes that ultimately built to a feeling of grief, which I think this film is an expression of too.
It was a script that I read that I was like immensely moved by straight off the bat. I think Callum is the kind of man that I am interested in kind of playing. I think there's a lot of what he does on the surface that kind of acts in opposition to how he is in private. And I think that's just a fun exercise to be involved with as an actor.
I was flipping through old holiday albums and was struck by how young my dad looked and the fact that I was approaching the age that he was in those photos. And these things kind of all coalesced to create, in that first instance, the story about a young father and his daughter on holiday at a resort in the late 1990s.
Yeah, I feel like this is a personal story to Charlotte, and it is something that she was incredibly generous with in terms of how she gave us a responsibility to create and play these characters. From an actor's perspective, you know, that it is obviously precious to her, but it was kind of treated with a degree of play, and it gave us a lot of freedom, I think.
Yeah, exactly what he said.
In prepping Frankie for the role, we did 2 read-throughs of the script during the 2-week rehearsal period that we had, just the 3 of us, Paul, Frankie, and myself. And we had a redacted version of the script, so it included only the scenes that Frankie was in and nothing of Callum's individual scenes. So Frankie never really had a sense of the struggle that Callum was having with his own mental health beyond her eye.
I mean, I knew a bit what was happening, but Paul and Charlie, director, like kind of hid it from me, I guess, to keep my nice, naive little girl that I'm playing.
Yeah, I think that was kind of important from myself and Charlotte's perspective, because I think it was just true. I think that's how, if people are battling something, they don't want to necessarily show it. So it's kind of like a fun game that represents also something that happens in real life, yeah.
And I think it was important for Frankie, especially as a first-time performer, but even if she hadn't been, to not have the burden of that knowledge, to be able to just be very present in the moment, not be thinking about the context of it, and to ultimately be shielded from that until she finally saw the film.
In preparation, we got to spend a lot of time, kind of 2 weeks before we started filming, where we got to essentially hang out. We swam in the pool, swam in the sea. Frankie's parents were very generous in letting me kind of assume a certain degree of responsibility during the days with Frankie, and we just hung out.
I asked for 2 weeks when we got to set, before we started shooting, for us to be able to rehearse and for them to spend time together. And so I was able to spend only really like an hour or 2 with them every morning because I was engaged in the other technical aspects of prep. And the rest of the time was just theirs to get to know each other and to build a bond. And fortunately, they really enjoyed each other's company and they enjoyed spending time together far above and beyond what was required of them within that time. And it was really lovely to watch them build that relationship and to capture some of it on screen, because many of the moments on screen really are the 2 of them enjoying each other's company.
What were your favourite moments?
My favourite moments?
Yeah.
Out of the whole filming?
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to rephrase this. Ready?
Yeah, do it.
My favourite moments out of the whole filming were, did you see that?
Yeah, that was good.
I liked when we got to go to the mud bath.
I thought you hated the mud bath.
I
to be
know,
honest.
but it was like fun because that was the same day we got to jump in the
lake.
river,
Yeah.
right, lake, whatever.
Oh,
it was.
we did the cold springs that isn't
Yeah.
in the film now.
Cold Spring's not in the film anymore, but we got to go in the river, in the mud bath, in the cold spring. Was that all in one
A lot
day?
of like water-based activities. Yeah.
I derived a couple of playlists from the playlist that I had been building over the many years of writing this film. One for Callum's character and one for Sophie's, and I shared them with each of the actors. Frankie revealed last night on stage that she never listened to that playlist and she despises all of the music that I sent her from the 90s, so she must have heard it at least once.
Yeah. She's more Olivia Rodrigo,
Yeah,
less Blur.
I like all my new music. I didn't really listen to any of the old music, apart from a lot of R.E.M., a lot of Losing My Religion.
Paul used it, listened to it, and I think is in the habit of building playlists for his characters, so that was a nice kind of point of connection.
Part of the audition process was dancing to Blur in the kitchen, and it's also like a period of music that I'm not particularly familiar with, so it was fun to kind of jump into that genre of like late 80s, early 90s like Britpop, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, music is infused throughout this film. It was a big part of the period and the storytelling, and it was fun to share with the actors whether they liked it or not.
Yeah, it's been a second since the film premiered at Cannes, so since then it's played in Telluride, Toronto, New York, London. It's starting to, it's really satisfying, starting to see the kind of film taking its baby steps out in front of the public, and I think what's so satisfying on top of that is that the responses, regardless of where it's played, has been consistently positive, but also eliciting kind of familiar responses in each place. Like lots of people calling their dads after the film, lots of people discussing how we don't really know our parents until we gain a little perspective, and I think, if nothing else, that's a massive success for the film, in my opinion.